Hi, hello everybody. Welcome back to our channel. My name is Ben, and of course, he's right there. Say hi.
Hey man,
All right,
what's up?
let's wish everybody a belated Happy New Year. I hope everybody had a fun and safe New Year.
Happy New Year all. I hope
And,
it was
and this,
good. I hope you had a party.
that's right. And this is our, I know we're a few days late, but this is our year-end wrap-up show where we talk about some of our favorite reads. I have a top 10 list, and Lohi got a couple of his favorite reads himself. So I have, besides my top 10 list, I have 4 honorable mentions, and I want to get that started. So Lohi, are you ready for your list?
Absolutely.
Okay, let me go first.
Most of my list is common to your list.
Okay.
So we just go issue by issue. I think we start with your books first, Ben, and then we'll jump into mine.
Okay, so my 4 honorable mention. First is Ant-Man from Marvel Comics. This is by Al Ewing and art by Tom Riley. It's a wonderful story of Al Ewing's love for the character Ant-Man. It basically is a story of Ant-Man throughout the ages as Hank Pym and Scott Lang team up to face Ultron in the future. If you're a big fan of Marvel, big fan of Ant-Man, this is the book for you. And my next book is Dark Space Wildfire from IDW. This is written by Scott Snyder and art by Hayden Sherman. It's a tale of 5 women who are prisoners. They are being used as firefighters in California when it's a high story where they find out one of them has a boss who has money hidden in a house where that's where to fight that fire. I really like the story, and it's a lot of shows a lot of love of friendship of these 5 women, and makes you really make you want to sympathetic for their cause. And it's being optioned. I can't wait to see this when it become a live action show.
Ben, is this done? Is this over?
Absolutely. Issues.
Okay, so then I think the trade will be dropping soon, right?
I hope so. I don't know how fast IDW releases their collected editions, but hopefully soon.
I'll get the trade for sure, 100%.
Oh, cool. And then I have Twig from Image Comics. This is written by Scotty Young and art by Kyle Schramm. This is a very wonderful, what do you call it? A tale of a young, young man or a young creature. His first day on the job, and he screws it up. Now he has to save the universe because of his screw-ups. I think Scotty Young has become a very good writer over the years, and he really excelled at writing compelling young characters that makes you want to root for that character. And Twig's one of those. It's really suited for children of all ages. So you have someone, a young child, and I think this is a book you should really introduce them to. So Twig by Image Comics. And finally, now I really hate to take this out of my top 10 list, but I really have the choice. This is Batman. This is the Chip Zdarsky run featuring the art by Jorge Jimenez. While the story is not the most original, but it's extremely well written. Now, it would have made my top 10 list. Unfortunately, both me and Lohi has agreed the ending was really, really did not stick to the landing. Meanwhile,
Moonfall.
I mean, everything.
The Moonfall stuff, no way. I didn't like it.
Right. Exactly. That's also the ending is not the best either. But overall, the building for the whole failsafe storyline, I think, is really, really good. Of course, Jorge Jimenez's art is wonderful, so it's a really good combination until last issue. Now, unfortunately, Jimenez is leaving this book for Mike Hoffman is taking over after the next issue, so we'll see where that goes. But I think overall, this is a pretty good run. What do you think, Logi?
I think it started off really, really strong with the failsafe art. And
right.
I was still, 100% there. And I don't know what happened in the final issue. There was like a complete paradigm shift as to what was done before. And it was going like up, and then it suddenly goes down. But
right.
I'm thinking it's just one odd issue. I'm sure that, in the next arc, then, he'll follow up again in the dark.
It's just unfortunate is the last issue, the final part of the story.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's what they say, in the end, even if the movie is pretty good or something, but if the last act is not good, that's what you leave with, and that's what you remember in your head.
Remember the most, exactly. Yeah. It's really too bad because everything going to the last issue was super strong too.
I just read 131, the latest Batman after the failsafe arc, I have
Yeah.
some thoughts about it too, but yeah, you have to check out that for the weekly reviews when we do it
Right, that's coming in next week.
next week.
Anyway, so let's start the top 10 list. Number 10, I have Minor Threat from Dark Horse Comics. It's co-written by Patton Oswalt and Jordan Blum, and has the art of Scott Hepburn. It's one of those has this really Black Hammer feel to it. It's about this character named Playtime. She is a bartender. She used to be a supervillain. Now she works for a bar where hosts C-list supervillains, and now she has to try to live her life. Meanwhile, there is that universe version of Batman named Insomniac. His psychic was killed. And he goes berserk. Now her job is to find the villain that's responsible. I really like this book. I mean, I remember telling you I bought this because I really enjoyed the cover of issue 1, and I read it. I thought it was exceptional. Yeah, this is one of those surprise how much I like it reads. So, Minor Threat from Dark Horse Comics. Number 9. This is Ghost Rider from Marvel Comics. It's written by Benjamin Percy and art by Corey Smith. And this is one of the finest horror comics out there. And surprisingly, it's from Marvel. Usually they're a little bit tuned down when it comes to graphic images. And not in this case. I mean, it's very graphic, a lot of gory scenes. And also it's very well written. Like Benjamin Percy has his mutant books are not that great, but his Ghost Rider books actually this run is exceptional. The whole way, portrayal of Johnny Blaze as a tortured character, how he has to face his demons, both inside and outside, I think it's very well done. What do you think, Lohi?
The demonic exorcism that Wolverine does with his claws into Johnny Blaze's brain kind of blew me away. That's what this book is dealing with. It's super dark. It feels like a horror book. It creates the atmosphere. I mean, even the villains are good, and even the side characters like Talia Varud, who's like in this, kind of like witch, kind of like a female version of John Constantine. She's also pretty good. So yeah, so Benjamin Percy kind of surprised me with this. His Wolverine run is not that great, but his Ghost Rider run has been fantastic. This is also one of my top 10s for sure.
Okay, and number 8, this is Duer Powerbomb from Image Comics, both art and story by Daniel Warren Johnson. Now, like Daniel Warren Johnson, I'm a big fan of pro wrestling, so this one really hits the spot, and this is the best pro wrestling comic out there. The action is great. The action panels are exceptionally well, especially you like wrestling. Some of those moves you see it when, like the stuff you see in AEW or New Japan Pro Wrestling. The storyline is very good too. You really introduce a young character named Luna Steel Rose. Her mom was like the best wrestler in the world. She passed away, unfortunately, doing a wrestling match. And now she's trying to follow her mother's footsteps. And now she's made an offer by this, like a devil type of character. If she wins a interdimensional wrestling tournament, she can get one wish. Well, of course, her wish is getting her mother back. I really like this book, especially the relationship between Luna Steel Rose and her tag team partner Cobra Sun. Is the whole mentor and protege relationship. Also, such a interesting part of the story is that pro wrestling is actually real in all the other worlds besides our own. So that makes the stakes that much higher. Yeah, if you're a wrestling fan, you're an action comic fan, this is a book I highly recommend. Loki?
Daniel Warren Johnson, man, he's a double threat. He can write, he can draw, he can do everything. So he's in complete control of the narrative. All his books are super tight and super, bombastic. And, that's the word I use. But yeah, do a Powerbomb. Again, if you're a wrestling fan, you'll enjoy it more. Even if you're not, even just a comic fan, not into wrestling, you'll still enjoy the story.
Right. There's a lot of part that's written by Daniel Warren Johnson.
Absolutely. So yeah. So I mean, yeah, Murder Falcon was great. His Beta Ray Bill was great, and so is Do a Powerbomb. So this is probably, although different comic book readers are like different stuff, but I think everybody has Do a Powerbomb on their top 10 list, and that's probably speaks for the book itself. For
Deservedly
number 1 too.
Yes.
So, yeah.
All right. Let's see. Number 7, another Image Comics. This is Rogue Sun, written by Ryan Parrott, featuring art of Abel Chris O'Halloran. This is my favorite. I think is the best series from Kyle Higgins' Massiverse. And I really what I really like about this book is the whole story of a young man, actually a very flawed character trying to be a better person while living the legacy of his father, who's the original Rogue son, died in an adventure. And basically, he's kind of like a reluctant hero, but he thinks the whole idea of being a superhero is cool, but to have to live the lifestyle is a lot harder than he thinks or he thought. And if you like, say, like a Miles Morales, or like actually very young Peter Parker when he's trying to start becoming Spider-Man, but I think the Dylan character is not as, he's kind of a bully, so he's not like as likable as Peter Parker or Miles Morales, but he's trying to be a better person. That's
more like Flash Thompson becomes Spider-Man rather than Peter Parker.
Yeah, also he's his bullying tactics and when he's doing some of the high school scenes. You'd be like, but you could tell that he's actually want to be a better person. Try to grow up. So the whole growing pain aspect, especially, I also try to live the two world of having a normal life and being a superhero. It's really well written here, and I think it's been told exceptionally well. And that's why I love it so much. Lohi, do you read this book?
Absolutely, 100%. So I read Radiant Black, the first trade paperback. I wasn't into it from the beginning. Ben actually was the one who got me into Radiant Black. And after reading Radiant Black, I think you can just move on to the Massiveverse. There's, I think, a one shot. And after that, you can just jump into Rogue Sun and just read it. Yeah, I think you can directly jump into Rogue Sun also. You don't need too much background on Radiant Black, to be honest. It's
the same universe, but the storylines does not interconnect. So it's fine. You don't really need to read Radiant Pink, or you don't need to read Radiant Red or Radiant Black to read Rogue Sun. If you want to, you could. So those are fine books. But this is this one.
Yep, Ryan Barrow is killing it. I think he killed it on Power Rangers, and then after that, he's doing this really, really well.
Right, and I hope maybe Marvel can hire him to do Miles Morales one of these days.
100%.
Yeah, and then number 5. Now, number 6. I get ahead of myself. This is Moon Knight. This is from Marvel Comics, featuring Lohi's favorite Marvel writer, Jed MacKay, and featuring the art of Alexandro Capaccio. This is simply the best Marvel comic out there. Monthly release anyways. The story is really wonderful. It's action-packed. Also, the whole the telling of the Moon Knight's 3 different characters, or how they have finally decided to work together instead of against each other. I think that part's really, really well done. Also, the whole the whole mystery aspect of the villains that's introduced. Also introducing Hunter's Moon, which is the other Fist of Khonshu. I thought that's really cool. And check MacKay, man. What can I say? Lohi loves him, and there's a reason why. He does a wonderful job on this book. And Lohi, this is your book. Go ahead.
100%, man. 100%. So I have always been a Moon Knight fan. He's probably one of my top 3 Marvel characters ongoing, and probably even number 1. And I've read almost every Moon Knight book out there. All the runs, even the non-famous ones like Alan Zelen's run, I've even read that. So coming back to Moon Knight and bringing him back completely new, and Jed MacKay at the helm. I met Jed MacKay at Toronto Comic Con, as I've been telling you in some of my previous videos. That guy knows where to go with this character. He has a plan mapped out. He understands what works for the character in the past and what doesn't. And he's picking and choosing, and he's playing with all these toys really well. He's bringing back older villains. He's getting newer villains. And, and each and every issue, like he's now at, I think, issue 19 or something. And all of these issues have been, even if you pick just one, even the individual stories have been pretty strong. So Moon Knight, probably the best Marvel comic out there at the moment. I mean, yeah, you have Spider-Man, Avengers, X-Men out of the way. This book is so much better than all of those rest. So
it's not even close.
Check out the trades. Whenever there's an omnibus for this, go buy it. Totally worth it.
Right. Okay, number 5. Now, I remember going on, when we were on Omar's channel, I picked this as my favorite miniseries of the year, but I've since changed my mind. But still, number 5, it's not bad. A Billion Genies, Image Comics, written by Charles Soule and Ryan Braun, a tale of where a genie gives a grand wish to every person in the world and see what happens. I think this is a wonderful. What's the best about is the whole world building about what happened to the world after everybody make their wishes, right? And what kind of wish people have. Some selfish, not some not, for the greater cause of the humanity. So some for what do you call it? Wants to be famous. Some want to meet famous people that's already gone, and it was really cool about this show. It's like 8 days, 8 weeks, 8 months, 8 years after the whole each issue. That's how it's been told, and the characters are well done. And of course, as I repeat myself, world building. Charles Soule does a great job on world building. What happened on this planet as people start making their wishes when it comes true. Lohi, have you read this book?
I have the first issue, but I have not read it completely yet. But once the trade drops, probably yes. I think there should be one trade because there are like 8 issues on this. So, but I do understand the premise and the concept.
There's still one more issue left before it concludes. But so far, 7 issues into it. It's exceptional read. One of the best releases of the year. And number 4. Now, number 4 is not a regular series. This is actually hardcover. This is Fantastic Four Full Circle from Marvel Comics. Both art and story written by the wonderful Alex Ross. Now, I know Fantastic Four has let people down over the years. They have some really poor runs. But this is the one. This is the redeeming book. Okay, this show is Alex Ross' love for Silver Age Kirby characters, and of course, usually you see Alex Ross. He does painted art, but this is fully penciled. But there's some beautiful pages. I want to show. Just want to show you one. This is one. This is my favorite one. This is the anti-Earth. I'm not sure you can see it. Look how gorgeous it is. It's just stunning. Both art and story. It's good story, not great story, but it's good story, especially compared to how bad Fantastic Four has been the last 5-6 years. But you get this, you'll feel good about being a Fantastic Four fan again. That is number 4. You see what I did there? Fantastic Four.
I see.
All right. So number 3, this is King of Spies from Image Comics. This is written by Mark Millar and art by Matteo Scalera. It's wow. What can I say? If you love James Bond, this is the book for you, my friend. This features a character named Roland King. He's like an older James Bond type of character. He does all the spy stuff, including the womanizing, the drinking, all the good stuff, the violence, right? And he found out he only had 6 months left to live. So he had an epiphany about everything he did his life for Queen and countries. Actually, bad things. Now he want to redeem himself before his time runs out. So he goes around, killing the wrong people. Oh, sorry, would it be the right people? Lee, what do you think? Wrong people, right people?
Wrong people, I guess.
Bad people.
Bad people, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is an amazing spy tale of redemption. Mark Millar, of course, goes a little bit overboard with the violence at times, but it you know what? It works for this book, okay? And also, he shows how much his hatred for Western imperialism too, which is something that I kind of support. Anyways, against. That's what I want to say. Yeah, this is definitely maybe the best Image book of this year. What do you think, Lohi? Oh, he's also got option by Netflix, so hopefully they'll hire a good former James Bond actor to play this character.
Pierce Brosnan, hire Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
So this is a very fantastic read. I think we read all the 5 issues, 4 issues whenever they came out.
Right.
So yeah, each and every issue is very bombastic. I even like those assassins. That was like really unique the way those assassins were. And they worked the way they worked together. That was pretty unique. So yeah, I think this is a very quick read also. So if you get like a trade or something, you can knock it out in 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Probably gonna be like, I hope that the series gives it like a little bit more touch and all. And I hope they do like I don't know how they can do a follow-up and all. But yeah, this was one of the better reads of 2022 for sure.
All right. Now, number 2, it might be a controversial one because this is Animal Castle from Ablaze. It's written by Xavier Dorson and art by Felix Delite. This is originally a French comic. Now, that's one thing. This is not a new comic. This is Ablaze does a lot of reprints of older European comics. So I think this came out several years ago. So a lot of people think there's a long list, but screw it. It's on my list. I love it. Although I'm more of a superhero type of comic reader, but this is the political comic is of your half and half nots. It's basically focused on a character named Miss B. She's the cat. She's the cat on here on the cover. That she's one of the workers on this castle where the human has abandoned it and the animals has taken over. There's a hierarchy where a bull and his dogs, they run the thing, and while the regular smaller animals and more forced to do menial labor for the basic necessities. And she runs a non-violent revolution, trying to change things, make a better life for her fellow animals, based on the ideas of Martin Luther King and Gandhi. I'm usually not into political comics, but this one is very well done. I think there might be a second volume coming out next year or two, or being reprinted by Blaze next two. I'm looking forward to it. Art and stories are both well done, and my second favorite book of the year.
There you go. An anthropomorphic comic for that one also.
Yes. Usually I'm not my type to read either, but when there's a really damn good book, hey, I'm not to pass that up. And number one, now there's no surprise. I'm thinking
we're going to do like a big reveal.
Oh, you want to do a drop? All right. It's actually no surprise what my number one pick is. This is Superman, Batman, World's Finest from DC Comics, written by Mark Waid, and fusion art by Dan Mora. Now, this is the perfect combination of writer and artist. Now, Mark Waid, very kind of a historian when it comes to DC Comics, so he knows the characters. He's written, lots of great DC books on Justice League to Flash and whatever, and so on. And he shows his love for DC history by showing the story. The characters are written like the way you like them. When it was good, the 80s, the 90s, and of course Dan Mora, one of the best artists in comic today. That combination, you can't go wrong. Okay, if there's one book you should read this year, it's World's Finest from DC Comics. And that's my list. Have you read this book, right, Lohi?
Of course, it's also on my top reads of 2022. The more you talk about this book, the more I want to jump back in and read this book because it's so good. And even a reread of this book is so good. The characters are good. I mean, Mark Waid, I think he brings the, Batman and Superman. And when this book was coming out, I was like, another book. Oh my God, another team up between the two. That's how I felt. But when I started reading it, then I was like, okay, this is going back to the basics, and this has a good storyline, and so he brings out what works strongly for these characters and what has worked over all these 60, 70, 80 years they've been around. He brings you back to the basics. And even if you've never read a Batman Superman comic, you can just pick this up and dive in and you will be fine. You don't need to know like 80 years of continuity or something. Right. Of course, there are tidbits which are spoilers, some kind of minor Easter eggs which are dropped in, but nothing major that you need to have a connected, knowledge of everything. And that's how comic books should be. Like, even if my 13-year-old niece wants to read a Batman Superman comic, and if I give her this, she should be able to jump into it and follow everything and enjoy it too, right? So that's what this book is. And it plays with all the main DC universe characters. So as you can see on this cover, like there is the Joker in and all. So, and not only Batman and Superman, they do a good job with the Dick Grayson Robin and Supergirl too, and their relationship also. So yeah, I mean, it's going in absolutely the right direction. It's probably the strongest DC title, and why not? It features Batman and Superman. They are the DC strongest characters,
Right.
So it is pretty much fitting. And
they're also superheroes in the world. You can't, when it's done right, this is it. You want to see when a comic book's done right, makes you have that feeling when why you're a comic book fan. This is the book that brings out that feeling.
Absolutely, 100% agree.
All right, Lohi, it's your turn, buddy.
Yeah, I have a couple of books. I think a couple of books of mine and yours are the same, so I had on my list. We'll go through the books which are just unique to me. So some of them you've read. So first one is, of course, Nightwing by Tom Taylor. Tom Taylor is there's no surprise to anyone, is one of my favorite writers. A lot of people said he made Superman gay and all of this, but he's the only comic book writer who, because of that, who went on CNN. I have not seen many comic book writers go on CNN and all. So whatever you think of his ability to write, he can create good characters, he can create good dynamics, he can create good Elseworld stories. So Deceased, Dark Knights of Steel are some of my favorite books to read, week on week. Nightwing is wasn't doing really well before this. I mean, he was Richard Grayson. He lost his memory. They did a lot of things with him, but yeah, I mean, Nightwing was like a little bit lost. Tom Taylor gave this book direction. Tom Taylor kind of brought Nightwing back to Bloodhaven, where he can operate without the shadow of Batman. And in by doing that, he creates his own identity. He creates, he brings back why people love Nightwing for his innocence, for his charm, for his wittiness, for him being just a good soul. He's not as dark and brooding as Batman or as calculative. He's a very good fighter, he's a very good hand-to-hand combatist. He's an aerialist, and he believes in his friends. So Tom Taylor brings in Teen Titans. Tom Taylor brings in his past affiliations with them. Tom Taylor also brings in his past relationships with Barbara Gordon and all. So yeah, and by doing that, I think he creates a cohesive universe. And even if you remove Tom Taylor out of this book, the Bruno Redondo art on this book is phenomenal. I mean, the panels, there are two interconnected panels where Nightwing is moving from, zigging zagging through a rooftop, coming down and hitting somebody and, turning around over a garbage can and all. It's sublime. The artwork enough is worth the price of admission for this book. Everyone who is a Nightwing fan, who's a DC Comics fan, who's a Tom Taylor fan, or who's just a general comic books fan should at least give Nightwing a shot. Tom Taylor Nightwing. So yeah.
I do love that art, man. That Bruno Daniel's art is fantastic.
Absolutely. Bruno Redondo. So some issues, of course, are not done by Bruno Redondo. There are fill-in artists too, but whenever Bruno Redondo comes back, it's again you're back into this universe, and the colors.
There's not when it's off the book. I was like, oh, because he can't usually do the cover too. And I was like, oh, great. Then he flipped the page. Was like, that's not his art. Damn it.
Absolutely. So most of the issues have been done by Redondo. So you get the same art as it's on the cover. Some of the issues are not, but yeah, I mean, they're fine. They're not bad. So yeah, so Nightwing definitely a strong read for 2022 for me. I'm still reading it, so it's still going strong. I still enjoy it. There are times when the story goes down a little bit, but then it just picks back up. So even the annuals are good, so go for it. So Nightwing definitely there. Next one is Batman Beyond the White Knight, the Sean Murphy universe. So this is kind of great, at least Sean Murphy gets his own Batman universe to create and his own Batman universe to nurture it. This thing started with Batman, the White Knight. Then there was Curse of the White Knight. Then there's a Harley Quinn mini series. And then this year they came up with Batman Beyond the White Knight, focusing more on Terry McGinnis and, Beyond the White Knight universe. So, of course, you have an older grizzly Bruce Wayne in this. And there is Derek Powers, who's the main bad guy, and Terry McGinnis, getting the bat suit and all. But not only this has all of those old characters. There's Harley Quinn, there's Joker, there's a nice relationship between Dick Grayson and Red Hood also thrown into this. And first of all, Sean Murphy, anything he does, I'm always there for it because the art is so good. And, and he has that unique style. And if you're into it, then you're into it, like Tokyo Ghoul and whatnot. And then so Sean Murphy's unique style brings this thing. And at the same time, the colors pop and the story is pretty good too. So you're getting all like top-notch caliber, good story, good art, good direction, good Batman. So even if you're not into the main Batman title, this again is a limited series and you should definitely get this in whatever format, like singles, definitely good, trades, hardcovers, omnibus, whatever you prefer. But definitely do not miss out on White Knight.
One day.
That day is tomorrow. I'm just kidding.
My wallet, no, not yet.
I think you're waiting for an omnibus, is what you said, Ben.
Yeah, when it's all the
don't
entire.
Miss on this. This is one of the strongest Batman things ever done, for sure. Yeah. So go for it. Okay, moving on. Superman. Okay, Action Comics by Philip Kennedy Johnson. I would say that you start with when Philip Kennedy Johnson jumped in, because before this, Bendis had the reins for Superman, and that was hot garbage. So again, I wouldn't recommend that for anyone. But the moment Philip Kennedy Johnson jumped in, he had this whole big task of, recreating Superman for the 100th thousandth time, and he does a good job. And at the same time, he had to because the John Kent series was also starting up simultaneously, so he had to do like something different for Superman. And he does what works best for Superman, is a depowered Superman who gets his powers back. So the whole concept of this book is, when it starts, is that Superman has to be taken off planet, and he goes to something called as Warworld, which is ruled by this alien called Mongol. And why does he have to go to Warworld? That's a good arc. That's a good 5 to 6 issues of good stories. Then he gets on to Warworld, and then there's like almost like 10 issues there on Warworld. It's a little bit stretched, but overall the payoff is good. The whole Superman is enslaved on Warworld and what goes on there, and how he comes back and his return. So it's a complete story. It's a very cohesive story. I wasn't reading any Superman at all, but after Philip Kennedy Johnson's Action Comics, I was totally back into reading Superman, and kind of reminded me of why I love this character as a kid and growing up too. So Philip Kennedy Johnson Superman or Action Comics, total recommendation from me, and a very good read. I'm still reading it. Now there's some changes after issue 1050. There'll be like multiple, it's going to be like an anthology title. Philip Kennedy Johnson still is on the title, and what he's doing with it, I'll continue to follow for sure. Any interest in Superman, Ben? No?
Well, when one's collected, I'll get I'm not going to get the anthology version.
There you go.
Speaking of Phil Duncan Cannon,
he returns. This dude is awesome. He's done like Superman Action Comics at one end, and he's doing a fantastic Alien comic at the other end. So when Marvel got rights to Alien and Predator, I was like literally disappointed, because Marvel doesn't do horror that well. But this last year, they've kind of proved that they can, jump into that genre too, with Ghost Rider and with this. This is amazing. There are like 3 arcs done till now, and all of those 3 arcs have been amazing. And they're all like, after the Alien, the first movie and the second movie, and then you start with the Philip Kennedy Johnson comics. There's a intro in almost every Alien comic about, what happened on LV-426, when was Hadley's Hope, what happened in that moon colony, and then everything is connected with that. Now, this has been, again, brilliant, and it's Salvador Larroca did the artwork on the first 12 issues. I think there is an OHC for that. That's already collected, or 2 trade paperbacks. You can also read it in that format. But yeah, Alien has been one of the strongest Marvel titles. I haven't missed a single issue, and I dare not. And Philip Kennedy Johnson, as long as he's with Alien, I will obviously follow it. And it's so much better than the Predator title. Would you agree, Ben?
Garbage. I do. I Alien series. I do enjoy it. Although it's not my top 10, my top 10, but it's a good book.
It is a good book, man. And if you like Alien like I do, then definitely a recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one is Thor, which started with Nick Lyon and Donny Cates, but then moved on to Torun Grunbeck, who's the new writer. So Thor, again, now it's like almost 29 issues, and it's hard for any book to like keep your enthusiasm after 29 issues, but yeah, it started off like the first 6 issues. I think everybody like really loved it. The next 6 issues were also pretty decent. There were some issues after that, which had a little bit ups and downs. For me, 29 issues down, I'm still enjoying Thor, for what it's doing, what it's building up to, and what they build up to after issue number 6. That payoff is still not there. So, I am still waiting for that payoff. There's a big reveal, there's a big prophecy after issue number 6 of what's going to come. Thor has a vision of things to come, and it involves Thanos. I can give you that, but I don't want to spoil it. But Thor still is a strong book for me. I did fall out on a couple of Marvel titles like Venom and Hulk and all. Thor is still one of the strongest books for me. I read it. I like it. Again, 29 issues down. I'm still hoping that, it goes in the right direction. They did lose Donny Cates for a bit, but Thor Grunbeck, he knows what he's doing. So at least there is a direction to it.
I would tell you, I mean, this book lost me about a year ago. The whole God of Hammer thing that I thought was, the whole reveal was bad. The Odin's funeral thing was stupid. And the Leeson, what do you call the Hammer, what do you call it? Banner War, which just dragged because the Marvel's shipping issues dragged, lost all momentum. I wouldn't recommend this book. Sorry, Lohi. It hasn't been good about.
Do you not even recommend the first 12 issues of this book?
First, I mean, the first 6 issues really good. And then 6 was okay. I mean, it's good. But after that, it just gradually got worse and worse. And
I think
again,
you need to read it as a whole. I know the God of Hammers did not land with you, but I kind of liked it. I mean, it was Odin was dead, and they had to do something. And there was, like, of course, losing Donny Cates, and sometimes the creative professor
that kind of lost himself. He's writing his. I mean, I love it. Reading Vanish now, but he's like, I didn't like his bad. I didn't like his Thor. I didn't. I mean, at least like his last year Thor. I definitely did not like Hulk. I think that's hard garbage right there. Just my.
Let's see where the payoff comes. Because with the prophecy, and
well,
if I like it, then I'll ask you to read it. Then you make an impression.
I think I dropped this book, right after what do you call it, Banner War. Banner
War was again, it was shoehorned into this. It had nothing to do with Thor. They shouldn't have done that. I mean, that's the whole problem with Marvel Comics, right? People write something, there is an event, everybody has to go to the event, and everybody has to participate.
This event fatigue thing, I definitely felt that. I mean, especially had to go crossover with Hulk, which is the much weaker of the Donny Cates Marvel book too. Anyways, all right, let's move on. Let's
move on. Okay, next one is Junkyard Joe. So it has only 3 issues till now, but all those 3 issues are so phenomenal that I had to put this thing here. Gary Frank is my favorite artist, of all time, and he delivers on everything he has done till now. He has never disappointed me, never let me down. Jeff Johns, this was, I like Geiger, but not that much. But this Junkyard Joe stuff is so amazing. It deals with loss, it deals with the Vietnam War, it deals with a robotic soldier who doesn't even say anything. So that's your main protagonist. But 3 issues down, it is still strong. It is amazing. And I hope that it continues to be. And Jeff Johns has a plot. He knows where this character he has to go to. And yeah, I've been enjoying Junkyard Joe. And I hope that, with this creative team of Jeff Johns, Gary Frank, Brad Anderson, that they continue to deliver one of the strongest titles, one of the strongest reads of 2022. And
I also read this book. Again, the reason it's not in there is I only read 2 of the 3 issues. The 3rd issue should be, should come in about a week or so. I do like this book a lot, and I think it actually has a lot more heart than Geiger, which I also enjoy. And it's a really good creative team. You can't really go wrong with Johns and Gary Frank, which I'm a fan of both for a long time. But again, I think it's only 3 issues in, a little bit too short for me to put on my top list. Maybe next year. It's a good book. Definitely recommend it too.
There you go. All right. Next one is by Ram V, Swamp Thing. So yeah, Swamp Thing is another amazing book by DC. What they do is, so this book was so good that it was only supposed to be for 10 issues initially, but they gave it a season 2 because it was so popular and people liked it so much. They extended the run to 6 more issues, and that was phenomenal. So in my opinion, it was one of the best. It's art by Mike Perkins is gorgeous. It pops. The story by Ramvi is what you're in for. Ramvi writes excellent stuff. This time we introduce Levi Kame, who is moving. So the Swamp Thing mantle has moved on from Alec Holland, and there is a new Avatar of the Green. And this time it's an Indian guy called Levi Kame. So, and he brings in, and he's coming from a completely different world. And this story is phenomenal. It's 16 issues of pure bliss. There is a tie-in with Suicide Squad for 2 issues. I thought I wouldn't like it, but I love those 2. And Peacemaker makes an appearance. And yeah, this is super bombastic fun. But it's also deep meaning. It's a deep story. It's about saving rainforests and stuff. It's all about connecting with your family values. Ramvi brings in, he delivers. Ramvi, when he brings it, he brings it. And this is one of those stories which is like super phenomenal. One of the top reads definitely of 2022.
Cool.
Gonna check out Swamp Thing, Ben, ever?
I only read issue 1. I thought it was really good. Yeah, but I'll buy the collected edition.
Okay, let's move on. Again, another Jed McKay book, Death of Doctor Strange. Again, this one is a limited series, but it moves on. It continues in the Weekly Strange book by Jed McKay also. Doctor Strange has been whenever again Jed McKay took over Doctor Strange, and again he took the character into a very different direction. He basically killed off Doctor Strange, and I thought, what is going on here? But then if you read issue 1, that's how the whole story begins, and where it ends is completely phenomenal. He brings in new challenges to Doctor Strange, which I thought couldn't be done anymore. The artwork is okay. It's by Lee Gabbett, and that's pretty decent too. So what was happening before with Doctor Strange, with Donny Cates and Mark Waid, that stuff was also good. But Jed McKay took him to with this series, took him to a completely different direction. And you don't need to read all of the previous stuff. What happened? You just need to dive into these 5 issues of Death of Doctor Strange. There is a collected trade for this. And yeah, and you don't even need to read the aftermath of it. But these 5 issues were pretty decent. And that's definitely a recommendation from me from Marvel Comics, Death of Doctor Strange.
I read it. It's okay.
It's good. It's pretty decent. See, art is always subjective, Ben. What hits you in a different way will hit me in a completely different way, right? You need to get that. So next one is Night of the Ghoul. Night of the Ghoul is by Scott Snyder and Francisco Francavilla, who has been one of the most popular guys in comics in 2022 for his artwork. This was again kind of like a mini series. I read it on Comixology when it came out. Yeah, it's about this guy who goes to meet one of his favorite filmmakers who made the most horrorest of horror movies, and he never finished it. So he goes to meet him in this mental asylum, which is somewhere in the desolate town. And what happens next is what this story is about. I thought, I like horror a lot, and I thought this was one of the best horror books I read last year. And we've covered a couple of horror books like Ghost Rider and all. But I think the energy and the fear and the when your heartbeat starts pounding, this book did that to me in a couple of cases. Even Ghost Rider couldn't do that, but probably my horror pick of the year would be this. And yeah, it's a very good book. And of course, again, it's a short series. It doesn't drag too much. It has a starting point and a specific end point. I kind of liked it. So yeah.
I liked it as well. I read all 3 issues, and it's a very good horror book, like you said. And it even ended like a horror movie should end. I also like the fact that it's broken down to different time periods, how they actually eventually merge in the end. I thought that part is very well done.
Absolutely. All right. One Dynamite appearance. So usually my Dynamite pick is something Red Sonja because I like that character. But this time, I think, of all the Dynamite books I read, last year, I think Nyx was my definite pick. So Nyx is one of those vampire. So they did this time in 2022. I think Dynamite decided to go into a different direction. What they did is that they wanted to give all these side characters from Vampirella their own titles. They wanted so they did Draculina, they did Purgatory, and they did Nyx. Of all of them, I think Nyx was the most strongest title. This is done by Christos Gage and art is by Mark Borstel. And yeah, it's about Nyx, and she's like a hell demon. She's the daughter of the chaos demon, the chaos god of hell. And yeah, I didn't know what to expect going in initially, but it turns out that this is not only a father-daughter relationship, but it's also a sibling rivalry, and it's also it's also got to deal with how does Nyx become something by herself and not just like a sidekick from a Vampirella comic, So it gives her her own identity. It gives her own universe. It gives a very good antagonist in her father. She doesn't like her father, and they go head to toe a lot. And they're also her father's scheme is basically to have all these other siblings and try to control them and try to manipulate them and try to make them, his own successor, and how they rebel against him. So it was a good story. It's great art and great covers too. So again, this is something, if you've never tried a Dynamite book ever, then I would suggest pick up these 10 issues of Nyx. I think there is a collected edition now. And yeah, it kept me, engaged every time a new issue dropped. And I was really into it. So yeah, it's something I wouldn't usually pick, and that's there. That would be Nyx from Dynamite.
So Maxi series, is it over?
It's done.
Okay, cool.
10 issues, it's done. So yeah, there you go. Then we come to Ghost Cage, which is basically my pick of the year from Nick Dragota and Caleb Gollinger. Again, Nick Dragota has worked on stuff like East of West and all, but I never thought that, you know, I'm much about him before Ghost Cage. So Ghost Cage, again, 3 issues, and you know, I mean, the amount of stuff he delivers in those 3 issues is amazing. So, you know, again, like I mentioned on my video with Omar's channel, it's about this old guy who controls the electricity of this entire city and how he manipulates them. And this little android who has to go against all his kaijus. And these kaijus are all these energy variants like nuclear energy, electric energy, wind energy. And this android has to go against, you know, all of these variants. So, I mean, it blew me away. Simple 3 issues. Again, what I liked about this is the simplistic story. 3 issues, you don't have to do, you're done in like 15 minutes. That's it. And at the same time, you know, it doesn't waste time. And the characters are like relatable. There is office politics. There is kaiju on kaiju war. You know, the art is sublime. It's a black and white book. Reminds you a little bit of manga-esque art, which Nick Dragota is not known for. So his art style was completely switched over for this. And yeah, this was definitely one of those pick of the years. I have all the 3 single issues. And yeah, there is a small thin trade paperback for this. I feel that it should be given oversized format treatment because it is so good. I really loved it. And I had no clue what I was getting into when I started with this book. And that's what comics are, you know, when you have no interest in reading a book and it catches you off guard and it's so good, then that you are like, oh my God, what did I read? And I had really had fun with this. Then yeah, that's what it does for you. So yeah, Ghost Cage is definitely my pick of the year.
Pick of the year, people.
There you go.
Check it out.
And the last book is just is 7 Secrets. This thing started off in 2021, but I think the last issue I read it in 2022. So it's also one of those. It's one of the good books. It's about this cabal of people who have like a briefcase to hold and safeguard with their life, and that holds a secret. And there are 7 of them. That's why it's called 7 Secrets. And it's about their lives. And you know what they're never told what those secrets are. They just know that they have to safeguard those 7 secrets, you know, and that's where the story begins. And it's a good book independent book by Tom Taylor. This is before, of course, he signed his exclusive contract with DC. You know, he did this independent book. I think there's like it's collected, and the first arc of it is espionage, intrigue, betrayal, and all. It's very action packed. The second half of it takes it into a supernatural direction, which I was okay with. But yeah, I mean, people have like different opinions on it. But the first arc of it, like the first 6 issues, super bombastic action, all kinds of intrigue and all kinds of like, you know, people like you'll never expect what the next page is going to bring. It's that good. So therefore, 7 Secrets is definitely there in my book picks of top reads of 2022.
I quite enjoyed this series myself. I thought the ending was, again, did not stick. Would kind of ruin it for me. But you know what's really good about this? Not Tom Taylor's writing, which was very good here. Is actually Danielle De La Culo's art is so vibrant, so bright and vibrant. I love that. You know, after reading all these books that's dark and gritty, you have this really vibrant art. You know, that's just like, bam,
it pops on you. Yeah,
really great.
Absolutely.
All right, so those are our favorite reads this year, and so if you comment below about what did you like, what did you read? Do you like something that we read? Do you like something you want to recommend us to read? I'd like to see your list too. So put a comment below. And that's it. I think that's it. We'll be back, I think maybe next week we're on New Comics Fall. And yeah, thank you for watching. And like, subscribe. And what's the other one? Oh, share. Share. It's always important to share. All right, people. With us, have a great weekend. Say goodbye, Lohi.
All right, guys. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and keep reading comics. And that's about it. Peace.
All right. Peace out, suckers.
Out.